friends, ever feel so bad that you couldn't leave your house? Yesterday, my friend was going to help me clean my garage, but she canceled because her foot hurt. I thought she fell or twisted on her ankle. Nope, her foot got swollen, actually her big toe, because of what she ate for dinner the night before. Ever eat something that didn't agree with your body by mistake or maybe on purpose? She actually knew she would be inflamed in pain the next morning, yet she still ate it. So sure, she broke her diet, but she might have offset some of that inflammation by adding some strategic foods. And in this video, let's talk about the 10 foods I strategically eat to reduce inflammation. Number 1 are red beets. Beets are packed with nitrates. Now, beets have been shown to drop systolic blood pressure by 10 points. And I don't have high blood pressure, and maybe that's why. In athletes, beets are a massive game changer. Drinking beet juice decreases the time of exhaustion by 1 minute and 32 seconds in professional cyclists and help free divers hold their breath half a minute longer and help runners feel less tired while performing better. That pretty much sounds like a biohack food, doesn't it? Beets contain lots of anti-inflammatory polyphenols, fibers, and nitrates that help open blood vessels so that you can get more oxygen to your muscles. So the cyclists, they drink 17 ounces or 500 milliliters per day of beet juice, but the divers, they just took 2.5 fluid ounces of beet juice. Now the trick with getting the benefits of beet requires a healthy oral microbiome to make nitric oxide. Hence, avoiding mouthwashes, especially those with alcohol, is super important because they can wash away beneficial microbes. I actually know a drink that can help reduce those nasty germs with side benefits, and I'll share that with you a little bit later. Now, sometimes when you buy beets, it comes with the leaves, the beet greens. And I admit I limit the beet greens because they're high in oxalates. However, I do eat a lot of, number 2, kale. Dinosaur kale is my go-to kale. And recently I saw in the news that eating cruciferous veggies like kale helps reduce GI tract cancers due to a unique phytonutrient called glucoraphanin that gets converted to sulforaphane, which is critical to protect against oxidative stress. In case you didn't know, oxidation is just a normal process that happens to everybody, just with healthy metabolism. Unfortunately, it damages the cells and proteins and fats and DNA. And this is basically the machinery for your metabolism and the house that they metabolize in. So when they take a hit, your blood sugars rise, your blood pressures rise, your skin ages, and you feel tired. Metabolism, unfortunately, makes byproducts or trash that causes free radicals to form like signet oxygen, hydrogen peroxide, and superoxides, and hydroxyl anions that are very damaging. And all of this causes inflammation. Now, we all have different symptoms of inflammation. Some people suffer dry skin like eczema. Some get itchy, runny noses like hay fever. And we think that maybe they're just mild. But you know, they may be the first roadmap to diabetes, heart disease, and cancers. These are all inflammatory states of the body. Hence, the need to reduce oxidative stress as you go along, right? And this means that every day we have to eat this stuff. And if we do it right, we can slow down aging. So strategic foods decrease our aging, while toxic foods or toxins in general like cigarette smokes, forest debris, restaurant fumes, barbecue smoke, cooking fumes, candles, freeway exhaust, they surround our lives and they make us age faster. The only way to get around that is to live in a bubble.
Loneliness is a problem in modern Japan. There are companies that provide fake families.
But that's a pretty lonely place to be, right? So there's just no way to avoid toxins. And it's a blessing that we actually get to be with people. But the fact is, you still have to do something with that inflammation, even if you live alone. And hence, it's important to eat strategic foods every day like kale with powerful antioxidants. Now, remember to pre-chop your kale. Let it sit for about 30 minutes to release the enzymes called myrosinase. They are trapped and only work when you break up the kale cells. Myrosinase is needed to convert glucoraphanin into sulforaphane, which is what your body needs to be active to help detoxify. But sometimes, if you're in a hurry, an easy trick is to add a pinch of mustard seed powder right before you serve your food. Mustard seed just so happens to have myrosinase too. And when you add heat to myrosinate, though, it's not heat stable, but sulforaphane is, and hence the point of pre-chopping. I'll share you a little secret. For the longest time, I could not get my family to eat kale. Honestly, I'm still struggling to get them to eat it. So I caved in and I just blended. It's just too hard to make them chew the stuff. So I serve it in a shake, buried in blueberries. As a parent, I really try very hard to avoid junk food, but my kids are always asking for some. And so I have to read through all the labels to look for the healthiest options. And when I was a kid, my parents, they didn't read labels, but they still tried to buy me the healthiest junk food. Kind of an oxymoron, right? But I'm sure we've all done that. My parents, they tried their best. They knew I liked chocolate, but they wanted to make it healthier. So they would buy me chocolate-covered cherries. Now, remember those cherries with the liquid filling? What did they call them? Like cherry cordials? I don't know why. No, I don't remember if there was alcohol in them or if they were alcohol-free, but I just remember them to be the nastiest candy I've ever eaten. But they would always buy it because of the cherry. My mom knew cherries were healthy, so I ate them. And I really don't know if those cherries still retain their health benefits, especially when they were drowned in sugar and food coloring. And those cherry cordials were an American invention, whereas the original idea to cover cherries in chocolate happened in the 1700s in France. Now, the French used sour cherries, and they called them grilled. Kind of ironic that the alcoholic tonic used to soak the cherries were once used to treat upset stomachs and digestive issues in the 1400s in England, because if you know anything about alcohol, then you know it's bad for your digestive tract. Anything that you swallow that feels like it's burning you is burning you. And those chemical burns increase your risk of GI cancers. And if you haven't followed the news, GI cancers are on the rise. Yeah, there's just some things we shouldn't be continuing today, like prescribing cigarettes for asthma or using alcohol as medicine. Because first of all, no amount of inhaling anything burnt is good, whether that's tobacco smoke or bread. And no amount of alcohol is good, even wine. But if you want to drink something that's not so tasty but super healthy, you may want to consider tart cherry juice number 3, which actually does have health benefits. Personally, I'm a big fan of those red bean cherries fresh. And when I grew up, the supermarkets would have loose cherries, which I literally would inspect every single cherry to put in my bags. In fact, every time the market had a sale, I would beg my dad to take me to the supermarket so I can go and pick the freshest cherries. And I would fill at least 2 or 3 bags worth of red bean cherries. And I thought my dad was the coolest dad in the world. It turns out eating about 45 cherries daily has been shown to reduce gouty flares. That's what my friend had, a gout flare induced by ham for dinner. And did you know that since the 1950s, it's been known that eating cherries help with gout? Even canned cherries eaten over 2 days was shown to reduce gouty attacks by 35%, and it lowered plasma uric acid levels, which is, by the way, what doctors monitor to see how well you're responding to your gout medications. But uric acid is not just a marker of gout. It's basically a marker of your metabolism, even if you don't have gout. So when it rises, you either have an overproduction, reduced elimination, and usually it's a combination of both. Basically, it's an early warning sign that you're not as healthy. But the solution can't be just eat cherries. And here's why. Uric acid is a natural chemical waste product created by all of your cells with normal metabolism. When the cells break down or when you metabolize energy molecules, uric acid is created and it needs to be eliminated through your body with your urine. Now, if you are into biochemistry, molecules like RNA, DNA, and ATP will all increase blood uric acid levels, specifically when you eat DNA and RNA and when you use up ATP. Now, these molecules are made out of purines, which you can eat or make. Purines get broken down into uric acid. So the goal is to really eat less purine-rich foods. And so if you stop them, then you reduce your uric acid load. Now, it's impossible to have zero purine, healthy whole foods unless you're not eating whole foods and you're eating a bunch of chemicals. But we do know that certain foods are higher in purines than others, like red meat, seafood, and alcohol, which technically isn't a food. It's really rare for children to have gout or high uric acid levels. Gout is pretty much a disease of diet. In fact, it's known as a disease of kings, because it's associated with people who can afford to eat things like red meat, game, organ meats, and alcohol. Someone like King Henry VIII or Louis XIV of France. Even Isaac Newton and Benjamin Franklin had gout. Now today, around the world, we have so many people who are eating like kings. They have an abundance of food choices that are destroying their metabolism. And the thing is, when your body is overburdened with uric acid, you're not just overburdening your blood, you're overburdening your kidneys, which is supposed to filter out the uric acid. However, if the kidneys are overwhelmed, unable to keep up with the production, that's when uric acid rises in the bloodstream. And this is called hyperuricemia. The unique thing about uric acid is that it doesn't stay separate. It actually clumps together to form a crystal, a really sharp needle-like crystal. So you're basically stabbing your blood vessels, your joints, and your kidneys when you form these crystals from high uric acid levels. And the immune system, they identify those crystals as being foreign invaders. And you have white blood cells like neutrophils. They release inflammatory chemicals like cytokines and enzymes. And this flows into the blood where the crystals are depositing, like your joints, to cause redness, swelling, and heat. And unfortunately, the crystals, along with your immune system, or inflammation, I should say, will cause permanent damage over time. The crystals could also build up into giant boulders we call tophi, and they could be lumps or nodules under the skin and around joints. Obesity, kidney disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes all can increase uric acid levels. But if you've been paying attention to my videos, you know that I said gout is a disease of diet. So then what is in the diet that is destroying metabolism? It's not just purines. Take another guess. You probably guessed it, sugar, simple sugars, such as table sugar, brown sugar, agave, maple syrup, honey, high fructose corn syrup. Turns out that the metabolism of sugar makes more uric acid. Now, if you poured out sugars from a sugar packet, all you see are crystals, right? That's food? No, it's a chemical. But when you look at a cherry, you're looking at a whole food. It has water, fiber. Its shape is created by nature. It's not manipulated like protein powder, similar to Play-Doh, right? You shape it into a brick and you sell it as a protein bar. The natural whole food matrix of a cherry traps in that sugar so that you slowly release it in your body. And the amount of fructose in a cherry probably never reaches your body, or I should say your bloodstream, because your gut microbiome comprises about 5 grams of fructose. But when you drink a soda, you're drinking about 40 grams of fructose rapidly. And when you're drinking your coffee caramel latte, you're drinking probably 20 grams of fructose rapidly. So none of it is protected by a solid food matrix of fiber. And when you eat sucrose or fructose, it's so quickly broken down in the liver. The rapid breakdown process uses up cellular energy, ATP, and produces several byproducts, including adenosine monophosphate, which then gets converted to uric acid in the liver. And this is why when you add syrups, fruit juices, sugars, agave, high fructose corn syrup, and honey, these products, they don't protect your metabolism and increase your uric acid level. And you can eat them, but they're not health foods. And for people struggling with inflammation caused by blood sugar issues or uric acid issues, simply not beneficial to eat chemicalized processed sugars, even if it's bee spit. I find it very odd that so many people think it's nasty to look at phlegm and snot, but they don't mind eating essentially phlegm and snot from a bee, right? In honey. And over time, when you have persistent high blood sugars, that leads to insulin resistance, which harms the function of your kidneys. Insulin resistance reduces the kidney's ability to excrete uric acid, leading to whopping levels of uric acid or hyperuricemia. Hence, it's super important to avoid eating high purine foods, again, like red meat, shellfish, sugary foods, especially sugary beverages like soda and alcohol. They all will raise your uric acid levels. And remember, they crystallize. And then the immune system comes in, releases inflammatory signals. And then nobody's happy because there's all this swelling, redness, and inflammation in the area that it is attacking. And the body can get into a chronic inflammatory state to cause permanent joint damage over time or permanent kidney damage over time.
Hi, friends. I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
Now, all whole foods, whether you eat animals or plants, will have some purines. But when you eat plants, you get high fiber and a protective matrix and anti-inflammatory antioxidants in the foods, vitamins and minerals like vitamin C and zinc and folate and magnesium. And all of these things in combination are protective to reduce inflammation. Did you know that when you eat more vegetables, you actually change the pH of your urine, and this increases the clearance of uric acid? So vegetarians actually have lower rates of uric acid. And people who converted from a standard Western diet to a vegetarian diet, they can also reduce the risk of uric acid crystals by 93%. But certain plants like cherries are even more beneficial, but they are expensive. Did you know that cherry farmers have to blow dry the cherry fruits immediately after it rains so that the cherry doesn't crack? No one wants to buy a cracked cherry. And apparently they hire helicopters to air dry them by hovering very close to the trees. No wonder cherries are so expensive. Now, unfortunately, if you want to get the anti-inflammatory benefits of cherries, you gotta eat them. Do you know how many fruits don't have the same color as your skin? For example, an apple. It's red on the outside and white inside. But red cherries are pretty red throughout the fruit. I used to manually pit the cherries or de-pit the cherries, and all my fingers would be stained with that deep, brilliant red color. The red color is full of pigment, and this is why cherries are so powerful. They have anthocyanins to help reduce inflammation, including markers such as C-reactive protein associated with gout. And potentially, this can help people relieve their pain and reduce their swelling in their joints. This antioxidant effect can help to relieve gout exacerbations. But if you don't want to buy fresh cherries, tart cherry juice has also been shown to reduce uric acid levels in the blood. And regular consumption of tart cherry juice has been shown to lower uric acid enough to reduce the frequency and severity of gout attacks. Now, number 4 is ginger, which is an ancient remedy shown to reduce headaches, body aches, and pains, as well as irritable bowel syndrome and painful joints. You know, I was forced to drink ginger as a kid because literally my dad, he wouldn't let me leave the dinner table until I finished my giant cup of ginger tea. And he made it super spicy. Luckily for me, it was only when I had a cold. Now, I just thought my dad had his quirks, right? Like parents, they do weird things. But apparently, traditionally, ginger has been used to relieve symptoms of the common cold, sore throat, and the flu. And they've been doing this for thousands of years. My brother, he's a PhD biochemist from Harvard, and he's a diehard fan of ginger tea. He drinks it every day. The first thing he does when he visits California is to buy ginger. Ginger has bioactive compounds like gingerol and zingerone, which interferes with the ability of germs to attach to the mucous membrane in the respiratory tract. This makes it harder for them to replicate and spread. And during the cold, the body produces a lot of inflammatory chemicals, basically different kinds of cytokines that are released as an immune response. But these cytokines are supposed to help you. However, they cause inflammation. They cause you to have fevers and aches and congestion. And ginger can dampen that by inhibiting the production of these cytokines, which reduces inflammation in the respiratory tract. Ginger also blocks COX and LOX enzymes, which are involved in producing inflammatory mediators like prostaglandins and leukotrienes. And by inhibiting these enzymes, ginger reduces overall inflammation, thereby easing symptoms like sore throat and body aches. And when your lungs are inflamed, the muscles in the airway can constrict, making it harder to breathe. Due to its anti-inflammatory action and its ability to relax smooth muscles, ginger can also help relax airways, which can help reduce coughing and make breathing easier. This is especially helpful when a cold leads to bronchial irritation and wheezing. Now, I was talking to a friend who lives in Arizona yesterday. He was driving to the market to get some cough expectorant for his wife because she had a cold. And across the horizon, he saw a massive sandstorm.
Overnight, apocalyptic scenes unfolding in Arizona.
Talk about inflammation. Now, first of all, nobody should be inhaling sand in the lungs, right? And second, all that dust, it's full of fungi that is now more aggressive than ever because of global warming. You see, our bodies are warm for a reason, and our core body temperature, it used to kill these fungi that live in the dirt called coccidiomycosis. But now with global warming, these fungi, whether it's coccidiomycosis or histoplasma, they are getting acclimated to heat and they grow better. Hence, if you see a sandstorm, don't go outside. Close all your windows, stuff cotton in any hole that you have, especially like in that window seal, and get a HEPA filter for each room. And if you have to go outside, wear an N95 mask. That's really the only way to go out. Now, if you're going to go to the market to buy mucolytics, then you may want to stop by the produce section and grab some ginger and make some ginger tea. Ginger happens to be a natural expectorant with a mucolytic effect, meaning it helps break down mucus in the respiratory tree. Now, I get it. Sometimes you just don't have time to make that ginger tea. And that's why sometimes I add 1 to 2 teaspoons of basically my dried ginger spice to water if I'm traveling, or I'll just take a capsule. And it sure comes in handy when I have to go on a plane or a bus because it definitely helps me relieve my motion sickness. Now, there are so many bioactive compounds in ginger. Gingerol is one of them. This is the primary bioactive component that is in fresh ginger, responsible for much of its medicinal properties. Now, shogaol is a compound that forms when ginger is dried or cooked, and it is believed to be even more potent than the original gingerol in reducing inflammation. And zingerone is another active compound that forms when ginger is cooked. And just like the rest of them, they have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antimicrobial benefit. Ginger can't help but reduce inflammation from all these different compounds and then some. And it does it also by inhibiting pro-inflammatory enzymes such as COX and LOX, both of which are involved in producing inflammatory chemicals in the body, such as prostaglandins and leukotrienes. And so when you reduce the production of these pro-inflammatory cytokines, then you have less chronic inflammation. Now, my friend had joint pain in her toe from gout, but what's even more common is osteoarthritis causing joint pain. And some studies show that taking ginger supplements or extracts over a few months can significantly improve pain and mobility in patients with arthritis. Now, when you're in the produce section, don't forget to take a look at the green leaves. The greener the leaf, the more chlorophyll it has. I look for chlorophyll-rich foods because they are rich in magnesium, which is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions. Thing is, if you don't have enough magnesium in your diet, do you know where your body gets your magnesium from? Your bones. And that increases your risk of osteoporosis decades later. But if you eat a diet rich in magnesium, then you can lower your risk of osteoporosis. When you're magnesium deficient, you'll notice you're going to have problems contracting muscles. You may even have muscle spasms and cramps, especially in your legs and feet, or maybe even your hands. Muscle twitching, tightness, those are some common symptoms of magnesium deficiency. Your heart is a muscle, so if you don't have enough magnesium, your heart is not going to beat right. You may have palpitations and arrhythmias. And there are also muscles in your blood vessels, so you'll be struggling with high blood pressure. And can you believe that if you eat enough magnesium, potentially that can lower your blood pressure because magnesium helps to relax your muscles. And your gut is also made out of muscles. So if you don't have enough magnesium, you get constipated. In general, magnesium is important to keep you from getting fatigued, feel weak, and have sleeping problems. It's important for your nervous system. Some people have numbness and tingling, and maybe it's just a magnesium deficiency. But your biggest nerve is your brain. So if you don't have enough magnesium, it affects your mental health. It can contribute to headaches and migraines, as well as anxiety and depression. So for a mineral this important that affects so many different organs, I personally don't take any chances, and I take a daily supplement. If you want to know what I take, I have a link in the show notes below. Number 6 is broccoli, which is another cruciferous vegetable. And women with higher urinary metabolites of sulforaphanes, which you only get from eating cruciferous vegetables, actually had lower risk of breast cancer. The study found that at least 5 servings a week was associated with reduced risk for lymphomas. Now, if you don't like broccoli, then you may try number 7, broccoli sprouts. That tastes much softer and has actually a lot more sulforaphanes than the mature plant. Now, these powerful vegetables, they can all help to lower your risk of several types of cancers, including lung, breast, prostate, colorectal, and stomach cancers. Now, those are several reasons for why I always give my family cruciferous vegetables to eat. Now, when you are at higher risk of cancer, part of the issue is, your cells just from normal metabolism will have damage. And inhaling pollution, food additives, preservatives, even the sunlight, it has ultraviolet rays that can damage our metabolism. This all contributes to chronic inflammation and potentially autoimmune disease. Now, when you get one, it can actually lead to another. So I actually had childhood eczema, which is considered to be an autoimmune disease. And people with eczema have a slightly higher risk of other chronic conditions, other chronic autoimmune problems. And when you have autoimmune problems, you're at higher risk of getting lymphoma, which is the hub of your immune organ. But the good news is life's all about risks and benefits, right? And there are lots of things to lower our risks, and that starts with improving what we eat and avoiding all those toxins. So obviously, sometimes the diet itself is not going to cure the problem, but you'll be surprised at how much inflammation can be lowered when you strategically eat the right foods in the right amounts. Number 8 is the red bell pepper, which is rich in carotenoids and vitamin C, which are powerful antioxidants. And people with higher blood levels of carotenoids, they actually have a low risk of heart disease. They have improved triglycerides, and men also have improved blood sugars and smaller waist. Carotenoids are primarily found in low-calorie foods, red, green, and orange plants, like red bell pepper, carrots, and kale. And when you eat carotenoids, you are detoxifying your body. You are activating the same system sulforaphane support called the glutathione redox system. Carotenoids literally become vitamin A in your body. And guess what? Children who are vitamin A deficient, they have a higher mortality to infectious diseases. Vitamin A deficiency, though, causes other problems, including the inability to see in low light or xerophthalmia, which can lead to blindness. You can also have skin problems, respiratory issues, measles, diarrhea, anemia. It's amazing how drug companies, they spend millions of dollars creating topical creams for stuff like eczema, which just is a Band-Aid and doesn't actually address the root cause for why people have eczema. Number 9 are raspberries. These are worth picking yourself to taste that fragrance that's lost when the berries are shipped to the supermarket. And it's one of my favorites because it's high in fiber and high in anthocyanins that reduce inflammation in your arteries. Now, this then lowers your risk of getting cardiovascular disease. It's been shown to improve blood lipid panels, glycemic index, and blood pressure. So the molecules in the raspberries, they can enter the bloodstream about an hour after eating them. Before they get to your bloodstreams, healthy gut microbes are eating the raspberries that you just ate, and they can transform them into urolithins that activate mitophagy, a recycling program to clear poorly functioning mitochondria that then contributes to disease. Now, urolithins can stay in the body for up to 80 hours. That's like 3.3 days. So the raspberries that you ate over 3 days ago, it continues to act as antioxidants to interact like signaling pathways like NRF2 to protect your cells against oxidative stress. And there are so many ways in which the polyphenols in raspberries can reduce inflammation. And a lot of that is with the help of your gut microbiome. Now, the last one is the drink I was referring to in the beginning of the video, green tea. That's number 10. It can help reduce the nasty germs in your mouth by just gargling it. It can reduce cavity-causing bacteria, as well as the germs that cause colds. Now, it's amazing that you don't even have to eat the leaf, and you can just drink the tea to get this benefit. However, if you wanted to eat the leaves, then matcha is the best way to eat green tea leaves because it's full of EGCG. Now, not all green tea, even not all matcha, have the same amount of EGCG. If you want to learn more about that, watch the next video.